what is good with y'all tonight? It's your man Donald King. Let me make sure the mic is on. Yeah. Oh, shit. Okay. All right. So, we having technical difficulties today. Let me see. Hey, anybody out there? Can somebody give me somebody give me some, I guess, feedback? Let me know if you can hear or see me. You know, I've been running into more and more technical difficulties these days. For some reason, OBS is working a little wonky, but it could have something to do with my computer. Earlier today, I went downstairs to grab a quick bite to eat, and I came back upstairs, and all of a sudden I couldn't log into my laptop. Couldn't log into my laptop, and I was like, what the hell, man? So at first I thought I got hacked. I was like, and I expect to get hacked at some point. I mean, it's like shit. I'm assuming many people have, if not done it. Brother Angel, thank you for giving me the acknowledgement there. I appreciate it. Hey, good afternoon to you. All right, cool. So it's like I'm online. Today my computer broke down, and I wasn't prepared for it. It kind of hit me out of left field, and I was like, darkness, people, I was in my feels. At first I started trying to troubleshoot it, and I was like, well, let me see. Maybe I just have to do a hard reboot and all this other stuff. But my computer's 6 years old, and you know they only make these things to last for so long. But I take good care of stuff, right? So it turns out that something happened to the keys on my MacBook. The keys are acting silly now. So the way that they designed their tech, I think it's called butterfly keys, and that's why they're so thin and light. But as opposed to how old computers used to be, where they I guess everything was sort of its own entity. Well, with these butterfly keys, everything's sort of integrated. So, interesting, man. And went to the Genius Bar, and my buddy put me up on a hack. My guy out there, he put me up on a hack, which is what I'm using right now. But it's just really interesting because now all the tech wants to be like, in your face, Donald King, you weren't prepared. And I roll with the punches, man. Get it done. Get it done. Say, I think I come across a post from my brother, and I come across a post in one of the rooms that I'm in, and it said if you're scared, then do it scared, and I like that, but it sort of plays off of what Brother Absurd said the other day, where he was like, it was something to that same effect, but I went ahead to expand it. So my view on all things is simply this: you go until you can go no further. You don't draw the line at where you stop. You let reality say, you're done. So you try until you can't go any further. And that's what I try to do. So it's a good life lesson because it keeps you in an adaptive state of mind. You know what I'm saying? When you're in an adaptive state of mind, try saying that 5 times fast. In an adaptive state of mind. When you're in an adaptive state of mind, and you don't let idealism sort of derail you when something presents itself, it pretty much indicates that you're better equipped for life than most people probably are going to be, right? which goes to the point of tonight's podcast. Is reality your fan? Is reality a fan of you? Right? And, I want to read something that I put here. I said, does reality require or even recognize and acknowledge your input or your criticisms, right? Is reality trying to earn your business or praise and recognition? Is reality in the business of catering to you as a consumer? Does reality go out of its way to bow to you and make things comfortable and to your liking? The answer to that is simply no. Reality does not care about what you think is right or wrong. It doesn't care about the moral codes or ethics of the formative environments you were raised in. It doesn't care about what you feel is fair or unfair. A topic I covered the other day in my podcast. I think it was my podcast from last week. Reality isn't trying to earn your business. Reality doesn't bend to your will or tell you what is, or allow you to tell it what it can and cannot do. We live in this age where everybody thinks that they get to cancel people for offending them. They've taken social contempt and outrage and weaponized it against everyone towards trying to make people who they train themselves to be angry at all the time shut up for their amusement and satisfaction. The problem with being narcissistic is that it basically trains you to believe that everyone should conform to you and your inner story. Everyone should change their values and change their beliefs and change their attitudes, actions, and behaviors to match what you think is fair and appropriate. In the inner story, when you're narcissistic, everything falls to you being a star. You are at the center of a play, and the spotlight is on you at all times. You're the good guy. You're the hero, the protagonist. And everyone who you consider an extension of yourself is perceivably good, and everyone who doesn't reflect your inner story back to you, who doesn't reflect this myth, this game back to you wherein you are the hero and the champion, why, they must be defeated, right? They must be scaled to know how insignificant they are compared to you. The problem with being narcissistic and the problem with practicing narcissism, self-idealizing, self-worship, competition, and aggression is that sometimes you mess around and bring that shit to the wrong one. If you practice being aggressive, if you practice being judgmental, if you practice being elitist and trying to make others bend to and yield to you, it is a near certainty that you're going to bring that outlook and toxic attitude and behavior to the wrong one. Reality is not your fan. Humans are in the habit of trying to earn fandom from each other, trying to earn authority so that they have the power to tell others what to do and how to be. You go around worshiping yourselves and then taking the name God or whatever belief system you define yourself by and plastering it over top of this huge mirror of you, this edifice to how great you believe you are, and you mess around and you bring that energy to the wrong ones. Humans deal in social consequences. Yeah, if you bring that attitude and outlook to the wrong person in the social sphere, chances are they can kick your ass or they can knock you down a peg. Maybe make you hurt a little bit. Take away opportunities and resources. Maybe impose some sort of emotional damage onto you. That's what you can do to humans in the sociosphere. What happens when you bring that aggression, when you bring that toxicity, when you bring that rage and that narcissism to entities that perform well beyond the scope of human influence? What happens when you bring it to the ultimate entity itself? Look here. I'm going to try and put this into a context that I think you should be able to understand. Put this in a context you should be able to understand. So, let's try a story. Let's say there's a virion, a newly minted virion, something that just came through the gestational cycle, a newly birthed virion, performing within the Ebola disease on a body, right? Now, this young virion, Thomas, comes out of its mother's womb. And it's conditioned through the sociosphere it grows up in to be competitive and aggressive and self-idealizing. It's ignorant to the natural functions of the body for which its disease is destroying, doesn't understand the nature of the body at all. The only thing it knows is the society of the virus it's conditioned and trained within, and also traumatized within, and that's it. So Thomas goes through all of the diseases, all of the Ebola virus's finest schools, gets its doctorate, several doctorates. Let's have fun with it. Several doctorates, and it's this distinguished member in the Ebola Society. And it goes on, and along with teams of other virion, it goes on to produce biological weapons. Say it produces bombs, produces lasers. And in its quest, and in Thomas's quest to be the best and most deserving virion of all, to get the most rewards and to steer the most attention towards himself, towards increasing his opportunities to consume mindlessly, he creates something that irrevocably damages the body of the host that he and his brethren have no transport off of. You see, he's living in the mind of the disease. In the mind of the disease, he's only making money. He's only getting ahead. He's only taking care of himself. Damn be the body that he depends on for survival. Forget all the other virion that get destroyed through his pursuit to feel important, to look important, and to be and feel safe and secure by comparison to others. Reality itself. Now, let me preface it by saying this. Within the throes of the disease, within the throes of the Ebola Thomas is an exemplary Varian. Why? He has statues erected of him, busts sculpted of him, paintings, huge mansion. He's killing it within the throes of the disease. To reality, is just a Varian. He's making all that money, looking real important. Got it in his mind that he is a god among his species. And in their view, he might be. Problem is, to reality, it's still just a Varian. It's an agent of corruption. You see, reality hates corruption. Reality hates corruption. So in all these things that Thomas is doing, within the throes of the disease, competing against his Varian, just trying to get to the top of the ladder within the disease, he ends up destroying a body that belongs to the highest organism, the perfect accountant. Being a corrupt figure, irrespective of what the Varian thought of him, irrespective of what his society thought of him, this corrupt being created reverberative effects that transmitted throughout several systems. So he killed the body of his host, right? He helped to kill the body of his host. He created an imbalance in that way. But here's the thing. On the higher scale of plane, that the body of the organism he infected was performing one. The person died and caused a huge calamity, or the organism died, caused a huge calamity in the environment it was performing within. And that created an even bigger reverberative effect. So all of these imbalances that translate through multiple scales of plane get traced back in part to Thomas. Reality is the perfect accountant. It's like you've created imbalances in reality that don't begin and end with your sense of justice. And you're going to pay for all the imbalances you created that reverberate through multiple systems. They're all getting charged back to you, Thomas. Thomas may have it in his mind that he's balling because he can flex against other Ebola Varian. The system of reality itself doesn't see it that way. Reality is a perfect accountant. The more given to narcissism and competition and aggression you are, is the more corrupt you are. The more corrupt you are, is the more likely you are to create lasting impacts that extend through systems well beyond your sense of justice and well beyond your scopes of perceptibility and influence. Direct influence, at least. You're not playing with fire. You're playing in fire. Just because you don't feel it burning yet doesn't mean it won't burn and won't burn bright. Yeah, this is the circumstance we are facing right now, people. This is what it is. Reality is not your fan. I see so many people online constantly promoting themselves, constantly trying to draw attention to themselves, constantly doing everything in their power to be the loudest and most deserving Varian. I deserve the most attention. I deserve the most praise and recognition. I deserve to consume the most. Me, 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 me. Me, me, me. It's a corrupt life form. If you can't think systemically, if your ability to hear reality is cut off because you're lost in the inner story, then you are corrupt. And that doesn't just apply to humans, that applies to any life form. If you are looking at a finger, let's say, that has gangrene on it, what makes gangrene corrupt? The cellular building blocks that belong to the infected area have, for all intents and purposes, lost the ability to communicate with the body. In order for the body to save itself, it has to cut the corrupt beings away. It has to. Brother Warren, thinking me, me, me all the time is a corrupt life. It is. It is, Brother Warren. That is exactly what it is. People who don't learn how to recognize reality over the mirror are corrupt. Self-idealizing, competition, aggression, they lend themselves to corruption. They lend themselves to corruption. And see, humans are trained to practice self-idealizing, to practice tribalism and various other forms of narcissism. They're trained to practice anthropocentrism. They're trained to practice competition. Oh my God, you're trained to practice competition. Some of y'all don't know what you'd do without someone to compete against, to try and feel superior to. You can bring that energy, you can bring that shit to other humans. When you bring it to reality and entities performing within reality, you lose every time. Every time. It's going to be a bad ride for a lot of people. And again, reality has, it doesn't care about anyone's sense of justice. It doesn't care what you think is fair. It doesn't care how you justify your actions or the I guess arbitrary valuation system you come up with to sort of forgive yourself and to barter away whatever debts you incur to reality inside your own mind. Your idealism has nothing to do with reality as a system. When you create imbalances in the system, you don't get to say what they cost. You don't get to say, "Oh, I'll toss a few pennies at it, and that'll cover that'll cover the check." It doesn't work that way. You create imbalances in the system. You have to answer to the system for all the imbalances seen and unseen that you've caused and contributed to. The other day I put out when I was shooting with Candace, I put out the analogy of the fox. The wounded fox, mother fox in the bear trap. When you're trying to free people who have been violated and who are hurt, when you're trying to free, to me, they're kind of like a wounded fox. A wounded mother fox in a bear trap. You see, Donald King sees wounded people as things that are in need of help. some people internalize corruption, reality, and this entity that I'm hosting, only thing they see is corruption. They don't care about the backstory. They're like, are you corrupt or are you not? Do I have to purge corruption from you? Or can you step up and get rid of it on your own? I gave you the tools. I'm giving you the opportunity to employ the tools I gave you. Which is it going to be? Are you beyond saving? Do I need to put you in my cleansing machine? Or can you bounce back? The more you practice self-idealizing, the more you draw into the inner story, the more you practice competition and aggression, especially aggressing against the thing that I'm hosting. You put yourself in a much, much, much worse predicament by the millisecond. I mean, we're talking about exponentially multiplying something that's already well beyond your ability to grasp in terms of horrificness to begin with. It's bad. It's very bad. I do this work to try and save the wounded animal from the trap. Not because I'm trying to win fans. Reality doesn't give a shit about fans. There's one thing that always bothered me about religion's God. Religion's God always needed validation. It always needed someone to acknowledge it and worship it and recognize it as an authority. It would go on these tirades and commit genocides and take its anger and frustration out on targeted populations and groups. It was okay with slavery. But it wanted fans. Reality doesn't give a shit if you're its fan. Reality doesn't care if you like it or you don't. Which is why agents of reality don't care if you like them or you don't. Truth doesn't care if you like it or you don't. And I'm speaking in principle here, so you can take that literally and you can take it allegorically. Truth does not give a fuck whether you like it or you don't. The more you practice primping in the mirror, the more you practice self-idealizing and worshiping the image of you, is the deeper and deeper you go into the inner story and the more corrupt you become. I was going through the parking lot the other day. And it blew my mind. I pulled in right next to the shopping cart stall. I pulled into the empty space. Right beside it, someone just left a shopping cart there. They just didn't even try to push it to the side or nothing. Left it in the middle of the space. Whenever I see stuff like that, the avatar perspective is livid. It's like the whole all of them, they need to go in the trash yesterday. They're awful. It does not like this species at all. It hates corruption. And people have internalized corruption to such a degree that they're almost indistinguishable from corruption. Reality, the system, the living, sentient, self-aware system, it does not like this species. Especially those performing at the top of society, and even those human and non-human, they operate at the behest of. very, very, like, I'm tired of even talking about how bad it's going to be. And you follow me enough to know I'm not making this up. I'm being dead serious. It's going to get bad. Very bad. And worse by the second. No one's making you choose corruption. It is a choice you make all on your own. The thing is, you prime yourself to accept corruption. You prime yourself to be an agent of corruption by doing what I said, practicing narcissism, competition, and aggression. Reality doesn't care about the backstory. It doesn't care about the influences. It doesn't care about your upbringing, your childhood. The only thing it matters, the only question it has is, are you corrupt? Are you not corrupt? Are you corrupt? Are you not corrupt? So yeah, that's what it is, man. Shit. You know, I do everything in my power to reach people. I do everything in my power to reach people, and not because it's like, again, I'm not doing this for fandom. I'm not doing this for friendship. I'm not doing this because I'm not doing this for women. I'm not doing this for anything beyond the fact that, one, is part of what I'm supposed to do with my life, but two, what motivates me to do that, even in the face of watching all of this corruption around me, is, fortunately, in my situation, you know, Avatar Perspective and me, we're basically different entities in this one distinguishing, in this one way. The most important way. As Donald King, I choose to see the wounded fox. That is what motivates me to try to help people. I choose to see the wounded fox. Avatar Perspective just sees corruption and is ready to purge. So ready to purge. It's weird hosting an entity, right? I never believed in any of this stuff, so anybody who would say such things to me, it seemed crazy. It's weird hosting an entity. It's weird feeling something else's like rage through you. It's like remote controlled feeling. Like, imagine you're sitting over here and let's say you're just watching your favorite movie, and then all of a sudden an entity that's just before, all of a sudden it's like, and you're sitting here like, I don't even feel that authentically. I'm laughing, but inside of me, it's kind of like, anytime it's like I witness or it witnesses when it's performing beyond the limits of my body, it witnesses the corruption. It's ready to go. It's literally, the Avatar Perspective is literally, it's designed to hunt and capture and purge corruption. Every avatar, the grander, I guess, spirit we host, that's its function. When Jesus was in the temple throwing over tables and whipping people for trying to pimp God, trying to pimp religion, it wasn't Jesus the man doing that. It was the Avatar Perspective. It was like, ah! It hates corruption, but this time we're near the end of the cycle, guys. I mean, we're near the end of the cycle, and I mean, time's almost up, man. My suggestion to you is do everything in your power to distance yourself from things that exacerbate and reinforce narcissism. That'd be the main place I start. Like, get rid of that shit immediately. Like, practice. Another thing. First of all, practice being good to people. Practice honesty. Honesty does the most to get you right with reality. Practice being honest and transparent. Like, just be compassionate to people. Stop being so aggressive and so competitive. Try to build with people. Stop idealizing money. That was another point that I wanted to touch on too. Jesus in his work, he said, the love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. What did he mean by that? Because people are like, we need money to survive. Yeah, in society, money is and or represents liquid authority. Authority is the power to determine meanings, order, and the outcome of events. If you have wealth, then you perceivably have the power to determine what things mean within given context. You have the power to determine order. You get to say how things go, and then you get to determine the outcome of events. You get to say who wins or loses, who gets ahead or who doesn't. That's what authority is at a principle level. When you fall in love with money, you fall in love with the idea of authority, liquid authority. So you can take money off the table. The love of authority is the root of all evil. The love of capturing authority from others is at the root of all evil. And it goes back to the point that I was making in my last podcast with Candace. It's the wounded fox analogy all over again. It's trauma. All these people who are so given to capturing massive amounts of money, they're trying to make themselves feel safe and secure. Because again, trauma isn't necessarily the event that caused a person or that damaged the person psychologically, but it is instead the feeling of powerlessness the individual experiences, and more importantly, the fear of becoming powerless. Again, that motivates the person to act in the way that they do. I'll never go back to eating beans and rice again. And all of a sudden, you start self-idealizing. Then you become aggressive, hyper-competitive, and before you know it, you're corrupt. The love of authority is what corrupts the soul, which is why so many ideologues are corrupt. But pretty much every ideologue is corrupt. Yeah, man. We going deep tonight. I don't know how many people tuned into this one. They probably saw I wasn't in Candace's place and they're like, we don't want it anymore. We liked her better. Candace is dope, man. She's dope. Yeah, man. It's like I actually had a couple of people. Candace, I don't know if you see this. You're probably busy or whatever you're doing. It's all good. But yeah, a lot of people come in and they're like, yo, man, she's so good. Y'all balance each other out so well. She's a very intelligent person, man. I was very, very pleased to shoot with her. Hopefully I get a couple more people here in the near future. Hopefully I can get to a situation where I can have a, like, you know, more like sort of stable and grounded podcast with just a regular co-host. It reminded me of that, what was that? Key and Peele with Obama's Rage translator. So I'm sitting here talking Avatar stuff, and then she makes it a bit more academic and digestible. I was like, hey, that's a good balance, man. That's a really good balance. But yeah. I know this stuff is really heavy, guys. I know I'm not ignorant to the weightiness of it all. You know? It's a lot. I went from being a person who thought people who believed in this stuff were stupid to actually being a key player in how this shit is going to play out. It's weird. Imagine thinking baseball wasn't a real sport, and that you only heard stories about it from people who claimed to have sat in the bleachers in the 40s and watched it. And you're like, yeah, whatever, y'all are dumb. And all of a sudden you find out that not only is the game of baseball real, but you're up to bat. And you're like, I did not prepare for any of that. I'm not, what the fuck? What is this? I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared. But whether or not I'm prepared has nothing to do with how it's going down. You have a choice. You step into it or you run. I'm fortunate in that my life experience has been tough enough to toughen me up and make it so that I don't run from things just because they're difficult. I might be a little slow to start stuff sometimes because it's difficult, but run. Face it and I get her done. Hopefully I make the type of impact with my life that I'm supposed to, because problem with seeing how all of this stuff unfolds in the grand scheme of things, not from within the sociosphere, is that you see how bad it's going to get. And you kind of like, you have every motivation to try and keep as many people from experiencing the bad shit as you possibly can, because you know that they can't know what it is. It's kind of like watching a badass little kid play near an active volcano. You're more scared for the kid than the kid is scared for itself, because it doesn't understand what falling into a volcano will do to them. It doesn't understand that type of pain. It doesn't even even if it doesn't fall into the volcano, just the fact that it will just burst up and burn the shit out of it. Like, the kid can't know the amount of danger it's in, so you're more scared for the kid than the kid is scared for themselves. It's a weird position to be in. To have a higher perspective and to understand how things play out mechanically, and to care more about people's consequences, especially bad people's consequences, than they care about the consequences themselves, because they don't know. Like, shit. It's a lot. It's a lot. Brother Absurd, the word! Every day I will say that with joy and glee in my heart. Let me see. It's difficult for me to respond to this. I'm having issues with the video playback on my end. Audio works when I'm tabbed out. On the subject of corruption, on the subject of corruptions, I sometimes think of a man who's missing an arm. He tells himself he's stronger than two armed people and attempts to perform the two armed task rather than the one armed task, ignoring the delays in production. Man, it's like, if you never write on time, you always write on time with it. I'm wondering, you know what? Hopefully this whole podcast is going well from the streaming end. But, first of all, you were right on time with that. That's what it is. Corruption is self-idealizing. Do you know how narcissistic you have to be to believe that you're a god? To believe that you're fit to knuckle up with a god or with entities? Do you know, I want you to think about that. Like, imagine being so narcissistic that you believe that there's a god, right? You believe that there's a god. You believe that there are demons and angels and all these other things. You believe in Messiah figures and prophets and all these other things. But you're so wrapped up in the idea of you that you just assume you are fit to say who falls in what category. This is the common man. They're like, oh no, you're not a thing. You're not an avatar. I would know it. Avatar, but it's all one. Word compared to what? How would you know? You have these people out here, they could be operating, they could be interacting with full-fledged demons in human form. And they would never know because they're so proud and so vain that they think they have the special gift of discernment to know who's who. There was a song that came out some years back. What if God was one of us? And I'm flat today, obviously. What if God was one of us? Just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home. These narcissists going around self-idealizing, calling themselves Christians and Muslims, might spit on him because they think their valuation systems and their acknowledgement and their acceptance is what makes God, God, what makes prophets, prophets, what makes demons, demons, and angels, angels. They put themselves at the center of everything. And if you're the system of reality, you know that such entities can't be allowed to roam about as free radicals, destroying everything and creating imbalances that reverberate throughout multiple systems out of sheer ignorance and self-indulgence. You have to cut away corrupt organisms. You have to destroy corruption. You have to destroy it. Not out of a desire to punish it, not out of a desire to make it suffer for your amusement and satisfaction, but to preserve systems within systems and that comprise larger systems. You have to get rid of corruption. So anything that's an agent of corruption, it's got to go. It's got to go. All of this stuff is very simple to follow. Hard to hear? Yeah. Easy to grasp? Yeah. It's not limited by and to the words that I say. You can pay attention to all the systems around you, and everything that I'm saying is going to sync up with what you already perceived and witnessed. The reason why so many people like the things that I say is because they know that I'm speaking the truth. How can they know that I'm speaking the truth? Because they see the same principles playing out over and over and over again. And what they say is, I didn't know how to say it, but I knew what you were saying. I already knew that. I didn't know how to put it into words the way that you put it into words, but I already knew that. Why'd you already know it? Because you've seen these principles playing out around you over and over again. And if you weren't so self-indulgent, so lost in the idea of you might have picked up on the patterns a little bit better, a little earlier on. And this applies to people in general. Yeah, man. It's how it goes. It's how it goes. But I want y'all to understand something. I do genuinely love every person. And I'm not saying that as a platitude. It's like the wounded fox. I care about that fox because I care about the cubs. I have a vested interest in trying to make sure that the fox is okay. My higher self, which cares for all life and cares for them cubs and for the fox, sometimes more than I care for myself. I want to see y'all be all right. But it is what it is, man. Once time's up. It can't be said I didn't do everything in my power to try and help folk. That's on God. Like every day, my conscience is clear by one thought, and that is I can only do what I can, and I never do less than I'm able. Yo, so guys, we're at 50 minutes in. Y'all have to forgive the beginning of this. It took me a couple of seconds to dial in. I've been having tech issues all day, man. It's just been wild. It's been wild. I don't know what's up, but I figured out a way to hack it, and I'm going to keep hacking until I can't go any further. Again, I'll let reality draw the line. Say where you can and can't go, Donald King. When I'm done, I'll say, hopefully I did good. Again, this shit doesn't come with an instruction manual. Like, it's the weird shit. Sit down here, you would think, with something as momentous as the task at hand, you'd get an instruction manual, and you'd have legions of angels around you at all time, and everybody would be stepping up like, oh, we understand the gravity of the situation. Let us get to work. And a lot of days you just herking it out yourself. You're like, man, it'd be a lot better if I had a support team. And I do get some support from some of my brothers out there and my sisters out there. Angel, thank you. Brother Absurd, thank you. I appreciate you. Brother Warren, thank you. Thank you. Candace, thank you. Thank you so much. Sister Monique, thank you so much. Like, a lot of y'all been coming in. My sister Kira, thank you. And there was a lot of y'all been coming to me and just really sort of stepping up and be like, I appreciate what you do. And some of you even donate and you help get things together on this end. And, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I genuinely do. Yo, if you guys want to join the Patreon family, you can always look me up on Patreon. I'm at Avatar Cycle XIII. That's Avatar Cycle 13. Or if you want to, toss a little Salt Bay love this way through the collection plate, you can always hit me up at Cash App, Donnie King at Cash App. Also, as you see, that this is shot on Facebook Live, but I'm also on Instagram and YouTube and Medium. It's like I post to different platforms, try and get as much information out as I can. So, man, I thank y'all for tuning in. And I always like to try and close out the show by circling back to the original thought that inspired the post. Because again, I shoot these from the hip. I don't practice what I'm going to say too much. I'm just honest. But when we're talking about the subject of reality, whether or not reality is your fan, if you're in the habit of practicing narcissism, then you're going to treat reality like it's your fan. You're going to be like that Varian Thomas that thinks that the world, that the body that it helps destroy towards gaining social status from within its virus, it's just a prop for the story of Thomas. Thomas thought the body it existed in and depended on for survival was just a prop to be exploited for his benefit and for his satisfaction and for his social advancement. When you treat reality like it's a prop, when you treat entities and agents in reality like they're props and fodder and support characters, you make enemies out of the system itself. The system, it hits way harder than anything you could hope to imagine, and there are far worse things in existence than pain. There are far worse things in existence than pain. That being said, I appreciate you all. Your boy loves you. And thanks for tuning in and rocking with me. Sorry about getting started late, but again, we're having all sorts of technical difficulties on this end. Hopefully, we can get this all resolved before too long, but I go until I can go no further. It's your man. I'm out.